Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and this evening I want to talk to you all a little bit about Vault of the Incarnates patch 10.0.5 and the current state of Warlock in, well, Vault of the Incarnates. Now, patch 10.0.5 brought a handful of changes to Warlock, mainly to Affliction, some buffs to Destro a few weeks before the actual patch hit, some NAF as well. Demonology is basically the same as it's been since beta, but nonetheless, things have been changing a little bit as far as what spec is considered the best in each fight. So tonight, I want to look at each spec before the patch, after the patch, I guess compare each fight to each spec, and just go from there and talk about why specs are gaining ground, losing ground, and all that. Now, if you see any weak auras, add-ons, or profiles in the video you want to acquire, links to Twitch and Discord down below, you can get them all for free. And also, as always, I want to give a huge shout out to my patrons before we get too far in the video. Guys, thank you for all the support on Patreon 10,000 times. I really, really appreciate it. It allows me to keep doing what I'm doing for you guys. And yeah, just thank you a million times. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon or anything like that, there should be links up here, as well as down below in the video description. So, with that being said, let's just jump right into it. Alrighty, so 2 pages up here. The first one you can see right here, the fight dates I've sorted from December 31st, 1969, the year. I didn't choose the year, it was that. I went way back, all the way to January 23rd, which was the day that patch 10.0.5 hit live servers. Now, the other, I guess, tab here is going to be the day it hit live servers to basically today, albeit a few hours ago. It's 29th now. By the way, it's fine. I want to compare and contrast logs, I guess, parses and specs being played on each fight, because things have changed a little bit. So, scrolling through the old logs first off the bat here, Aranog, as we know, has been pretty much a demonology fight the entire time. There's not really been you can play Destro, you can play Aft, but this is like what a prime demonology fight looks like. Single target, cleave fight, prio add, prio just boss cleave, right? Also, I want to say number one here, these logs are all going to show Soulkeeper. They're all playing Inquisitor's Gaze. Just Blizzard changed the position of Soulkeeper and Inquisitor's Gaze in the tree, like on the hybrid node or whatever. So they're all the eyeball, just Warcraft logs didn't update it yet. So it's all Inquisitor's Gaze here in every log. Now, getting back to what I was saying, Aranog is basically a tried and true, just prime demonology fight. Single target, prio, cleave, fight, implosion, third dog, demonic strength, Fellstorm, imp, gang boss, all that cleave and that final damage. Very, very good across the board. Interestingly enough, you'll notice a bit in here, this Shadow Gem trinket, Voidmender Shadow Gem, gaining a lot of ground. Already very good for demonology, simming very well for Destro and Aft for me as well. It has indeed been added to DPS loot tables from Shadow Moon Barrel Rounds. It is the best in-slot trinket for demonology from what I see, and it looks to be very good for Destro and Aft as well. So if you haven't acquired one, it might be time to start farming Shadow Moon Barrel Grounds again. If you thought you were done with Knock Hood Hold or Knock Hood whatever farms, unfortunately, Shadow Moon probably is on the table as well. Regardless, so getting back to this Aranog demonology fight. Now, when it comes to Taros, it initially was a demonology fight in early prog, but things changed a bit. Mainly, I think everybody feels sort of the same way due to just how awkward Taros is from a demonology Nether Portal POV. This is back playing the Sack Souls, Power Siphon, Fell Covenant build of demonology and pure patchwork. Playing that build on this fight with Nether Portal, an absolute nightmare. Your cooldowns, being second portal, lines up about with the second slam on the fight, I believe. Cooldown timing is just very awkward on the fight. Plus, even like in early kills, you were looking at like a 630, 620-ish kill time. That's basically when you're portaling for a third time. Second portal is like 320-ish, and third portal is like 625-ish, whatever, right? So timing's terrible for demo. Destro and Aft started gaining more ground, partially due to buffs and partially just due to how good Affliction was in the move, and it was getting substantial buffs, or some buffs, basically every other week because of how bad it was, right? So Destro and Aft overtook Taros in, like, I guess pre 10.0.5 logs. They overtook demonology on Taros. Primal Council's been basically a demonology fight through and through. Some builds play guillotine, some builds opt for just Grand Warlock's design, no guillotine build, basically like the non-guillotine, non-portal build. Demonology fight through and through. Sonaris an interesting one. There was a mix of demonology and Destro early on. However, Affliction's been gaining a lot of ground, and that is due to the Wrath. Okay, it's good in the fight, but also this build plays Wrath of Consumption, which is very strong in this fight because Spiderlings are active for the entire duration of the fight. You basically go single target build, Drain Life, Dread Touch, Haunt the Soul, but you go Wrath of Consumption instead of Tormented Crescendo, and that is because you want to roll Wrath of Consumption basically the entire fight. You stack it to 5 on pull, so I can find the buff here. You stack it to 5 on pull, and you basically just roll a 5 stack for mostly the entire fight. I've seen full 5 stacks the entire duration of the fight. Maybe a bit of RNG, might depend on things dying in time or not, but you can roll a very, very high stack, and Wrath of Consumption gives a whopping, I believe it's 30%, right? 15. Sorry, old Wrath. Still, 15% increase to all your dots. And they're all ticking basically for the entire duration of the fight, right? So very strong in that setting. Destruction ended up seeing some play as well in progression. It saw more than AF when you had to kill the Frost Breath Arachnid, the big spider. But now that it doesn't need as much prior damage, you're seeing Affliction just gain ground on Sinarth. And this is where it basically ended before the patch hit. A mix of Destro and AF. Dathia is basically Destro and AF as well before the patch. If you're playing Affliction on Dathia, you're staying on the main platform. You don't really go hit any of the ads. You just sit on the main platform and you attack the boss. Now, if you're going to ad platforms, you can see here he basically hits the boss. Okay, I guess he doesn't do an ad set. Most people don't do that either way. You sit on the platform, you hit the boss for the majority of the time. You're like the single target mobile sustain bot on the fight. If you're hitting ads, people typically play Destro or Demonology. Mostly Destro now, and I believe most go second platform and fifth platform if you still get it. Some play Cry Havoc, some play Pandemonium on the fight, but it still brings a lot of good cleave for the fight when it comes to ads and things like that. Multiple options, AF, Demo, Destro. Now, Kurog, not much to say. It's a Destro fight. Basically, perma 2 targets in the relevant phases of the fight. Big Mayhem value, big Havoc value. A lot of RNG with the Mayhem builds, but this has really been Destro through and through without really much changing at all. Now, Brewkeeper is an interesting one. We'll expand this here as well, because Brewkeeper has been a Demonology fight if you are killing ads. If you are on the boss, which some people do, you typically end up playing Affliction. Well, some people do, I should say that. However, I'm sure a lot of Warlocks play Demo, just staying on the boss as well. The highest parses here for AF, sitting at 90k. I would assume sitting on the boss most likely. Pulling us up. There's some damage on ads as well, I guess. But I mean, what AF can do in this fight, you can either go perma boss and kite the lightning and chase it around and just deal with that, or you can play Absolute Corruption, dot the boss, and then basically, whether you're on the boss at all the whole time or killing ads, still have that relevant boss damage ticking. However, when it comes to just overall damage in the fight and having, I think, a bit more of a relevant damage profile for ads, Demonology is king here, and not a whole lot really changes. Now, Razagath, I think it's basically just all Demonology kills before the patch hit. I think AF, there was speculation AF could be good in this fight when it came to post 10.0.5. We'll see what it looks like when we get there, but pre-patch, all Demonology things, not too bad. Now, the big thing here, there were a couple changes, right? So off the bat, Destro got some buffs before the patch, all that kind of stuff, but Affliction got Focus Malignancy in 10.0.5. It got Pandemic Invocation in 10.0.5, but there's been a handful of like bug fixes and all that kind of stuff. So number one, they ended up adjusting Drain Souls value. So I'll pull up a log here from, let's find like a Taros log. Let's go Taros top log here. So they ended up adjusting Drain Souls. Really, it was Withering Bolt that was bugged. This conduit was doing more damage than it should. It wasn't capped at 45. It was capped. It was uncapped essentially. So it was empowering your Drain Soul or Shadow Bolt if you're not playing Drain Soul for whatever reason by a relatively substantial amount more than it should have been. So pulling up the top Taros log here from before the patch, before this bug fix, I should say, the DPS contribution from Drain Soul is about 11.15%. Let's see if we can find a Taros log here. I haven't looked at this actually for what it's worth, but I'm assuming it's going to be, actually we need to find a kill after it was fixed actually. I believe it was fixed yesterday. Let's see here. 27th should hopefully be enough. There's one here. So this is the date that Drain Soul was fixed. Pulling this up, let's see, we can translate this. Drain Soul being once again 11.5 in the highest pre-patch kill, pre 10.0.5, post 10.0.5 being 7.92%. So roughly a 3% DPS loss depending on fight durations, execute, and all that kind of stuff. But you can indeed see Drain Soul has been nerfed. Once again, Rapture Malignancy has indeed been buffed a little bit, 25% here comparatively to 18 in the previous before the patch log here. But a couple things here and there. Also, Drain Life being Inevitable Demise has been bugged and unbugged and all that kind of stuff, sitting at a similar damage profile. But either way, less Drain Soul damage, more Rapture damage. But the big thing, getting back to the comparisons here, let's close these out actually. Get rid of Taros, this, and this. So the comparisons, starting off post-patch. Aranog, still a pretty big demo fight. Not a whole lot changes there. Once again, still very good, just stat cleave profile, power damage, all that. Once again, some Shadow Gems up here as well, doing a pretty big carrying pretty much. This trinket's pretty wild for demo. Now comparatively, so this is the actual post patch parses here. Affliction has overtaken Taros from, I guess, the grasp of Destro. It's basically half and half. Affliction has become a pretty strong spec on Terros. The highest parse post-patch being 88.1, pre-patch being 82.4. Now you can scroll down, there are some Destro parses here, running, this one's running SAC and a few other things, basically the new single target build. But Affliction's become what it seems like here, more or less, the go-to for this fight. Now, heavy movement fight, AF, pretty good at it, as long as you can maintain Dread Touch. Good damage profiles, CDs basically at 0, 225, and like 4-ish, depending on how it goes. And fights are lasting about 450, 540. Not bad for AF overall, comparatively to Demo being 0, 330, and 630, or Destro being 0, 3, and 6. AF looks to be a very, very strong choice, and probably the best option overall at this point when it comes to actual just Mythic Terros, right? So I guess pre-patch, post-patch, Affliction's taken over. Now, interestingly enough, this is where it gets pretty spicy. So, Primal Council. Now, this actually interests me because the changes that Affliction got in patch 10.0.5 were not to our AoE. We got a minor Seed of Corruption buff and some minor dot buffs, I believe a week or two before the patch hit, but not a whole lot really changed on Council before then. I mean, you could even see here, like, this is Council, pre-patch, post-patch. But Affliction gained a lot of value on this fight. I mean, a little bit due to Focus Malignancy, but at the same time, the Grim Reach, Dark Harvest build, Soldier's Gluttony, Grim Reach, just, I guess, Soul Rot. Where's Dark Harvest at? There you go. So I always mix up Dark Harvest and Decaying Soul Satchel from the old expansions, but I mean, Dark Harvest, Grim Reach, basically like the large AoE build, playing Vile Taint, playing AC, Seed, and just spamming Seed, spamming Sow. Just does a lot of damage on this fight. It might not be as, I guess, I mean, honestly, this fight's more of a melee meat grinder kind of fight, and both AF and Demo can make very good use of those damage profiles. Demo, Fellstorm, Demonic Strength, Implosion, Third Dogs, just the basic damage profile that it has. To a similar extent, Affliction. But the one thing that did indeed change between 10.0 and 10.0.5 is that, I'll give you all a second. What would have affected the actual AoE output of AF here? The fixes that came into our 4-piece. Now, the 4-piece does seem to be a little buggy still. I've seen some logs of affecting 2 seeds when you're playing, or 2 Sow seeds, I guess, 2 out of 3 seeds when you're playing Sow, and I've seen some where the bonus is now buffing all 3 seeds. So that is the main reason as to why, I would assume at least, as to why you're seeing a lot more AF play on Primal Council. Now, Demo can still crank. It's still putting up competitive numbers here too at the same time. Roughly getting 3 PIs versus 2 here, basically a wash. But overall, I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes a wall of affliction, just how Terros is too. The fight's pretty easy. It took 2 or 3 pulls in early Mythic Prog anyways, but it's cool to see AF actually gaining ground. But this one's not even really due to talent reworks. This is due to bug fixes. So, Primal Council has become a pretty solid AF fight, but hey, I wouldn't fault you for playing Demo as well. When it comes to Destro, it is seeing a little bit of play in this fight. I've seen some Inferno play, but I just don't think it's as competitive as Demo or AF, personally. There's one here at 14, one at 19. It's fine. AF, or Destro can bring a really good profile with stacked Rain of Fire, Cleave, and all that, but there's a lot of caveats to that and things. I think it's a big AF fight, big Demo fight, and if you want to play Inferno build, have fun, but, you know, I think there are better options. Either way, AF overtaking Primal Council. Synarth. A mix of Destro and Demo here, basically half and half. This is pre-patch. Post-patch, a wall of affliction. Highest parse being 92.5, highest parse being 84. And this is going to be decent, pretty good value out of Focus Malignancy, some Pandemic Invocation value, but overall, still playing the Vile Taint, Siphon Life build with Wrath Consumption, and just rolling that big, just 15% dot damage increase profile with Wrath the whole time. If you're able to roll a max Wrath stack for the entire duration of the fight, which I would assume he probably did here being rank 1, it's a passive 15% additional damage to all your dots. Yeah, look at this. You go to 5 on pull, you just roll a passive 15% damage increase for the entire fight. You can maybe do a little bit of damage to the spider, like the spider ad if you want when it spawns. I mean, but at the same time, like the larger one. But you make sure to just redot small spiders. Hit the 5 stack, throw an agony out on the next set of spiders, have it die, refresh the stack, and just roll the 5 stack forever. Because this plus Haunted Soul, Haunt, I mean, this plus Haunted Soul, that's 35, Dread Touch 65. Haunt and Shadow's Embrace, it's like 85, it's like 90% more damage, so whatever you're doing. I mean, a mix of like just baseline dot modifiers and not, but you can see how just the stacking value you get from all these modifiers in this fight, especially Wrath, is just so valuable in that funnel-based profile. And that's the cool thing, because you don't really see AF having that funnel-based profile a whole lot in these settings, but when you have those small spiraling waves coming in every so often, it provides a really strong fight for a damage profile like Affliction with Wrath of Consumption. So once again, early on, you saw more Destro play due to like the larger ad needing more Destro damage on it, just good cleave on the ad, good cleave on the boss. And it wasn't terrible damage-wise if you had PIs and were, I guess CDing properly and getting, maybe a little bit of help here and there. But Aff is certainly taking over in this fight as the best overall, I would say, damage-based spec. But once again, if you're in a prog setting, I wouldn't thought you were playing Destruction if you need big spider cleave and then decent boss cleave too. Now, when it comes to Dathia, you're starting to see even more Affliction played in this fight. Once again, post-patch here being a Wall of Affliction, which comparatively to beforehand, you're seeing a mix of Destro and Aff, maybe a Demo Parse here and there. Actually, coming in here a bit more, sorry. This is Dathia here. Destro, Aff, and one with Demo Parse here. But interestingly enough, if you sort of move this over, this is pre-patch once again, looking at these actual Aff builds. So this person's playing Seed. And what is besides that basically a single target build with Vile Taint. You have PI, you have Malefic Afflictions, Dread Touch, all that mixed in here. But he is indeed playing Seed. However, down here, there's no Seed play. No Seed play and no Seed play. If you go to the current post-patch, like current modern day Dathia logs, it is a Wall of Affliction. If you filter by specs, though, I guess so look by specs, there are two parses here, Seed, and a world of no Seeds. So you're starting to see Affliction Warlocks heading to platforms, actually, doing damage to ads as well. And you can see in his breakdown, he actually does indeed do damage to them. Now, if you filter by, let's see if you can find him, you can filter by damage done. I think it's Raging, what is it called? Thunderstorm? Thundercaller is one of the two. I'm not sure what it's called here. Thundercaller, maybe, yeah. So he goes here, and he goes here at the very end. Only assigned the 2 shelves. I believe this is 2nd shelf and 5th shelf, I believe. The 3-minute marker and a 6-minute marker. Probably, I would assume, not doing a whole lot of damage to them comparatively to everybody else. But regardless, you still bring that really strong single target damage profile. Filtering by boss damage here, I'd assume he's probably number 1 or 2. He's number 1 by a commanding amount. And you also have that profile of, okay, I play Vile Taint, I do play Seed. I'm not even playing but I'm playing Seed. I can go to a platform, I can cast a Seed, get some Rapture damage in, and do a little bit to the ads, which might be needed at certain points in time. Not a bad build, pulling a point from somewhere here. Briefly, just pulling a point from Sacrolash and putting it in Seed gives the flexibility, a bit of utility, and you can just Rapture with Vile Taint down to get a good bit of value in those settings regardless. So Dathia becoming a pretty big Aff fight here as well. Now, Kurog being in current patch, still Destro stuff. Not a whole lot to say here. Mayhem versus Havoc is going to be, one of the questions that goes through the entire expansion, or I guess the entire patch. What's better in this fight? Mayhem typically leads to higher boss damage when it comes to Kurog. It's RNG for sure, but it typically leads to higher boss damage comparatively to Havoc, leading to less boss damage, but more consistent damage. If we filter by boss damage here, Kurog, damage to bosses, I believe it should be, I'm assuming it's going to be a lot of Mayhem at the top, and maybe a Havoc parse or 2 mixed in. So let's see here. We have, okay, a wall of Mayhem, Havoc, Mayhem, Havoc, Mayhem, Havoc, and some alternating back and forth kind of stuff, right? But Mayhem, higher high end, but you can chain those rolling Havoc stacks for a long time. Higher high end when it comes to like just rolling Havoc value, but also a lower low end. If you pull up the actual breakdown here, funny name, Curse class, it actually is pretty cursed right now, but pulling up his buffs, I'd assume he chains Rolling Havoc for a good while. Let's see here, Rolling Havoc, this is a decently high uptime, and right about here, so like these chains here, this is like 1 to 5, he's chaining, so it procs, so he's having Mayhem proc back to back, which can chain Rolling Havoc for a while. This is what you're looking for, these long chains of 5 stacks here. He chains in the final phase, which is very important. Chains at the start as well, which is important. Comparatively to a log like this, which has Havoc in it, Havoc is not, it's nowhere near as RNG. It's very set in stone what you can do. It doesn't have typically as high of an uptime when it comes to Havoc and things, or Rolling Havoc, I'm sorry, but it does bring more consistency. So if you're looking for a bit more of an even profile, a bit more of a controllable profile on the ad and the boss, for example, you'll be looking at something like this. Here's your Rolling Havoc uptime. Very controlled, right? I believe the ad died here, but very, very controlled. 0 to 5, down, 0 to 5, down, 0 to 5, down. You can see the space in between it's basically the same. About, 15-ish seconds roughly, and Havoc's back up. So, Mayhem, Rolling Havoc play versus Havoc, Rolling Havoc play. So, either way, Kurog's still a very big Destro fight. Not a whole lot really else to it. There's some AF play here and there. I think you're just not playing the right spec or you're playing AF in this fight. But hey, either way, still a good fight overall. Now, shifting gears here, heading to Brewkeeper Darena. This is once again, the post 10.0.5 logs, all that. It's still pretty much a wall of demonology. This is pre-patch. Demonology. This is post-patch being Demonology. However, there are a few different builds you can play in this fight. Now, I think overall the best spec probably is still Demonology. I don't think guilds should have a whole lot of trouble finding damage on the boss. And if you're looking at just doing solid boss or solid add damage every wave, I think you can't go wrong with Demonology. Demo has 1 minute Tyrant, minute Fellstorm, 2 minute Grimoire, minute Fellstorm, Fellmite, Fellsunder, Third Dogs, Dreadlash, Implosion, Imp Gang Boss. Just a really solid AoE based profile with the option to swap to a bit of final damage, a bit more single target based if you want at certain points. Just, you know, move out, don't implosion cycle, all that kind of stuff. Good, same profile as Aranog. Good cleave profile built into a solid single target profile overall. Now you're not playing Nether Portal in this fight. Builds were playing Guillotine a bit before the patch. I didn't play it Narkill. I didn't think it was really worth it. And most have shifted to just playing non-Guillotine builds. It's actually playing like the non-Guillotine, non-Nether Portal build. However, I think it's hard to make a case to play anything but Demonology in this fight if you're assigned to adds. This is the build most are playing in this fight, just the non-Guillotine, non-Portal build. Now, there have been some parses post-patch that are Affliction based, right? So if you pull these up here, here is the highest AF parse being number 29. He's playing a mix of AoE and single target being Grim Reach with Haunted Soul, Wrath of Consumption. I believe he's playing Vile Taint and Absolute Corruption with Soul Flame, Sack, all that kind of stuff. And I'd assume, so if you're playing AC, you can put AC on the boss when it starts, just run around and kill adds and all that kind of stuff. But I would assume, I know, I looked ahead, spoilers, this build suffers a lot when it comes to single target boss damage. It's like you're trying to go for a hybrid kind of build, and I think if that's the case, you just play Affliction. Or sorry, you just play Demonology, because you can still do better add damage, and we'll pull up boss damage here. Remember this parse here being AC and Vile Taint, right? So overall boss damage, it's very different. Overall damage, very good for Demonology. Boss damage, though, really favors AF, and most of the builds for AF are playing Siphon Life, playing Phantom Singularity, some playing Vile Taint, playing ID, playing the basic single target build. FM, Malefic Afflictions, Crescendo, all the above, Haunted Soul, Dread Touch, and that's it. Now, you can make the choice of saying, okay, put our Warlock on the boss, have him play single target build, or have him on the adds and play Demonology. You can play AF again on adds if you want, but I think if you're playing adds, you play Demo. If you're playing solely the boss, you play Affliction. Now, this is still a full just Warlock sort, right? If you go by damage here, right? It's just Mythic Birdkeeper, all Warlocks. The highest demo parse when it comes, I guess, not parse, but I guess overall damage for like boss sorting here is sitting here at roughly 45,000 DPS comparatively to the highest AF one being 85k, roughly almost double what demo can do. Now, also, all these parses here are playing Siphon Life. Let's move this over a bit here. The parse that was playing AC and Vile Taint for Affliction is not even on this page, actually. It's on page 2. So this parse here was the highest overall AF parse in the fight, playing AC, playing Vile Taint, Haunted Soul with Grim Reach. However, you can see the boss damage it puts out is not very strong. So it's sort of a middle ground kind of build. If you're on adds, I play Demonology. If you're on the boss, I play Affliction. But overall, I think this is still a pretty solid Demonology fight. And I don't think there's a whole lot of really room for Destro play. There are some parses, but I think Demo and AF just do better things at whatever you're trying to do as Destruction. Now, the final boss being Raszageth. Raszageth, an interesting one. There are two actual new AF parses here that came in a couple days ago. So when it came to pre-patch, it was all Demonology. No AF parses anywhere, just Demo stuff. However, Affliction has, I believe, 3 parses total on Raszageth now. It does post-patch. Now, these two builds are playing Seed, so they're playing Soul Flame with Vile Taint, and besides that, pure single target build, right? Dread Touch, Haunted Soul, FM, MA, all the above. 87k with no PI. That's pretty impressive. This is a jewel crafting trinket as well here. Pretty wild with no PI. This one here has 4 PIs, but once again, you know, RNG's RNG, all that kind of stuff, right? There's a parse here also playing Inevitable Demise, which I felt pretty good in this fight, but Soul Flame could be better for like first intermission, second intermission, and just things in general. But either way, there's some bugs with AF still on Raszageth. You can't Rapture. You can Rapture, but you can't stack Malefic Afflictions on shielded targets. So like Storm Surge shields, you have to Rapture beforehand to get stacks, so you're just sort of in trouble. But I wouldn't be surprised with how flexible AF is in this fight, with intermission damage, phase 1 damage, phase 2 damage, is everything. The profile that it can bring, I would not be surprised the longer the tier goes, to see Affliction Warlocks overtaking Demo in this fight, because Demo's been played from day one. These are basically the 3 new parses here post-patch, right? Now, this indeed was pre-Drain Soul, Withering Bolt, nerfs, all that kind of stuff, right? But I wouldn't be surprised long-term to see Aff overtake, if not be in the mix with Demonology as like the best spec on Razagath. You really can't die playing Aff in this fight. They're playing Soul Flame over ID, but it's still hard to die as Aff in this fight. You still have some extra damage amps if you want with ID and things, if you choose that route. And if you told me, going back here and just filtering by everything, if you had told me that if you asked me to guess what spec would be most prominent in logs week 1 of 10.0.5, I might have said Aff if you asked me last week. But if you asked me like a month or so ago, you know, what's gonna be the most prominent spec in 10.0.5 week 1, week 2, I would not say Aff. Like, I mean, Aff is Taros, Promo Council, Sinarth, Dathia. It's seeing some play on Razagath as well. Like, I mean, that's 4 out of 8 bosses, right? The damage profile just got better. It's already seeing play on Dathia, already seeing play on Sinarth, already seeing play on Council, and seeing play on Taros. But once again, comparing it to pre-patch, Aff just got better. The profiles got better, the damage got better, and it's just sitting in a solid spot. A mix of Destro and Aff, mix of Destro and Aff, Destro and Aff, and I mean, yeah, that's that. So not even any Aff here at all actually on Council, but with the 2-piece, I guess with the 4-piece being fixed and all that, Aff got better there too. So TLDR, there might be some bugs coming in with Aff right now. Bugs are getting fixed. The MA thing's a bit unfortunate, but at the same time, it is what it is. The future could possibly be, it could be bright for Affliction. I would hope the 10.1's on PTR within a month or so. Get to see the new raids coming out and all that. I don't feel like Vault was an incredible Warlock raid. Tuning was a bit off, obviously, for a lot of range classes, barring, you know, Arcane Mage, a couple other things here and there. It was sort of a melee meat grinder and all that. But with that being said, I think Lock is very, very close to being a very strong option. Lock specs give incredible reach in different scenarios. And if tuning is right, I think the current version of Lock is very, very close to being very strong in a lot of settings. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully the video answered all the questions you might have had about just the current state of, I guess, Warlock in general involved in Incarnates. I've been getting a lot of questions about, hey, what's the best spec on XYZ? Why is Aff seeing more play? Why is Destro seeing not much play? Why is Aff overtaking Demo and Primal Council? And I mean, it's 4-piece fix, maybe a few other things here and there, but Aff's not looking too bad. It's in a weird spot because there's a handful of bugs that are being fixed with it. I know a few that that have been fixed that have sort of hurt things. The Withering Bolt fix, the MA fix, obviously, which can inflate damage a little bit here and there. But at the same time, I think putting aside the MA bug, which is present in some of these logs, I think the logs would still be about the same. I honestly do. And even Withering Bolt being a bit of a nerf, I think it's still pretty solid and safe to say that Aff is probably like the most prominent spec in the raid, at least at this point. I mean, the relevant fights being Razagath, maybe Brewkeeper to a certain extent. There's still more Demo play on Razagath for sure, but once again, long term, I think Aff could overtake Demo possibly on the fight. We'll see where it goes, but I'm excited. Gotta start gearing up a bit more Aff stuff because might be playing it more. I did get my Voidbender Shadow Gem in the vault though. That was sick. I had one slot in my vault and opened a 421 Voidbender Shadow Gem, so guess I'm a little lucky. So if you guys have any questions, put them down below in the comment section. I'll be sure to get back to you. And once again, any week wars, add-ons, or profiles you saw in the video very briefly here. Links to my Twitch and Discord down below where you can get them for free. And feel free to hop in and swing by and just hang out and ask any questions anytime. Before we end the video, I also once again want to give one shout out to my patrons. Guys, thank you 10,000 times for all support on Patreon. I really appreciate it. It allows me to keep doing what I'm doing for you guys, making content. And yeah, I just really, really appreciate it. So if you're looking at supporting on Patreon, links up here as well as down below. And yeah, that should be that. App's looking good. It wasn't as exciting in Plus as I thought it would be, but the changes that came in 10.0.5 were more to single target with FM and PI changes. Seed was buffed a little bit, and yeah, the 2-piece, 4-piece changes, they were nice. Its damage profile feels a bit niche in certain settings. I feel like comparatively to Demonology, when you're looking at Plus stuff, Demo just has solid CDs every minute in Tyrant, every 20 in Dogs, every, I don't know, 15 or whatever in Implosion, every 20 to 30 in Fellstorm, which is still a bit tough to compete with if you're Aff or Destro. But at the same time, in niche settings, as Aff or Destro, the settings where it's good, it's very good. So we'll see where it goes. Hopefully 10.1's coming out in the next few weeks or a month or so, give or take, on PTR. And yeah, things are rolling. Fingers crossed as well for a BlizzCon announcement soon. Hopefully that's going on this year. So, all that being said, thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, be sure to smash the like and sub buttons below. It helps out a ton. And I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.